Hello, beloveds. This is Steph Parasha, Divine Light, coming out to you from New Zealand, Aotearoa. I was feeling as if I was going to talk to you and send this message out on the 22nd of November, which the numbers are 2211, or if you're in America, probably 1122. And those numbers are really beautiful and synchronistic on the twin flame path, particularly, or light worker path. And however, the messages weren't coming clearly enough to bring it through. But today I've meditated. I'm sitting inside my little tiny house truck, and the sun is shining outside. Summer's on its way, and I meditated, and just so much is coming through, so much information. And I wanted to go write it down, but I just got told to kind of freestyle through the information as it's coming through. So I'm going to just try and recap on what just came through then, which was freaking amazing if I, really tune in. So, okay, so basically 144s again, seeing that like crazy, those numbers like the either 414 or 114 or 411 or 114 or 144. So all the ones and fours in any shape, but a lot of 144. So to me, then I heard the word spiritual police, and I was like, what in the earth is spiritual police? And that is kind of, I have talked about the emergency services before of spirituality when people are going through kind of like a big massive shift, and you need to kind of ground that in, and it can be really crazy, like spiritual crisis kind of stuff where you're having really emotional dark nights of the soul, and people's energies churning, and basically all the fears coming up and out of the body and discharging. And there's so much energy around that people can tend to go into a little bit of fear and get a little bit ungrounded, and then sort of things are switching up and out because we're really, I'm feeling, going into another dimension. Like we've been doing that for a long time, but at some points along the journey, it's slow, and it hasn't really been. Sometimes it doesn't feel slow. It feels really fast and energetic and a little bit chaotic sometimes, with how much of the energies are shifting as we are going in and out of fear and love, and shifting up our vibrations and ascending and getting higher into the dimensions, and really accessing some of those feelings and vibrations and the thoughts that come with those vibrations. We're accessing all of that in amongst kind of dropping in and out of the third, fourth and fifth dimension. So there's a lot of kind of going in and out of that depending on your environment, the people you're around, the setting your own tone. A lot of people say whatever you're vibrating at, you're attracting that. Not necessarily, I think we just can bob around out there and find ourselves, it depends on which way the wind's blowing any particular day. Things can change. And we've got to also be aware of as we go in and out of the dimensions, how our ego responds to different situations as we are changing so much within ourselves, our inner essence, and all of our beliefs, and how they all merge together and become energy, how we move in the world, how we shift in time and space, and how that's related to vibration. This is kind of sounding a bit technical. I hope I'm not kind of getting a bit waffly, but even I'm starting to wonder if I can understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to describe what I'm kind of energetically tuning into at this time. So the ego kind of likes to interpret everything and sort of have an understanding of what's going on, and categorizing it, and knowing where it fits in terms of hierarchies of levels and all of this kind of stuff. So as we're in our higher selves, and we're in love, and we float around, and we kind of don't need to necessarily know where we are, we're just content with being where we are. And so when there's kind of that going on too, so we're kind of flipping in and out of different consciousness states around how we're feeling, how we're vibrating, how we're interpreting what's going on according to our humanness, according to what others are doing around us. Where are we at with twin flames and all of this? And again, I hear the same message that kind of comes through no matter what we're doing, where we're at, how we're describing it, how technical we're getting, it's being in love and being in that vibration of love and being conscious of being in that love. And even if we're finding it difficult and it doesn't feel like love, to love that anyway, that's needing more love. So when that energy comes in for us where it's awkward and resistant and kind of awkward, whatever's awkward, it just needs more love. So that's making me think a little bit about a person that I met today that I've kind of had a little bit of intimacy with in the past, but we've sort of drifted away a little bit from each other, and I had a few things that I kind of didn't like in the way that they communicated about a topic that's quite sensitive for me, obviously, and I had a little bit of a trigger and a reaction to that. Great, yep, because then obviously there's something to heal there, and I recognised that and communicated that to him. And so then we just saw each other before, and I instantly feel really kind of warm around him. Like we had a hug and it felt very gentle, but then I could feel my heart start to seize up and kind of go cold a little bit and hard and sort of resist him. And even though my body part of my body wanted to warm into him and sort of get close, and he was being very inviting in the way that he was talking with me and very connected and very present, and I just kind of found myself wanting to kind of avoid that and kind of jump out and run away or just kind of put my wall up. So that's really interesting. I'm just thinking about that as I'm communicating. I haven't written anything down about this as I'm talking to you. I'm processing. I'm just freestyling, I guess, energetically what's flowing through. I'm seeing, as I'm looking out, I've seen two unusual things today out in the environment. One is that I looked up in the sky. I was with my mum and we were sitting out on the deck and watching the sun, sitting out in the sun, and looked up in the sky, and there was this amazing white cloud. It was very wispy, and then this kind of weird rainbow sort of image that was kind of not a rainbow like an arc across the sky, but just kind of like this really like a rainbow cloud, you could say. Like part of the cloud was all kind of tinged in these rainbow colours, and we tried to see if we could take a photo of it, and it came out and we were like, wow. So I will put that up in this video. I'm not sure where it's going to land in terms of, but that is unusual. Like we just looked at it and went, wow, what? And there's no rain at all around us today. It's very dry, but there was this rainbow thing in the sky, and the clouds also look like angels. So, you know, I love all that magic stuff, and it's the first time my mum has been around to see me at my house and actually sat with me and had a cup of tea. This is going to sound really weird, for probably over a year. Even though we live like 3 streets away from each other, I visit her, I go to her house, and she doesn't really come to mine. And she sat on the deck and we're sitting out there, and I said, see Mum, you come to my house and magic happens. And that felt kind of cool. And I said, you know, I put on these magic shows, and yeah. And then just as I'm talking to you now, I've noticed on a pole as part of the construction of my house where I live, I'm looking out towards it and seeing that somebody has drawn like a cross on this pole. And I'm sort of looking at it thinking, okay, here's again, always recognizing the balance of things. And so, you know, wherever we might feel one way or the other, that's also recognizing, trying to come into the balance of that. You know, what do I need to come into more of a balance if I'm sitting on an extreme point of view? I'm just going to think of an example, and it might be someone that might, they've actually commented on one of my videos, and I read it, but I didn't comment, but I thought, because it was when I was talking about the burdens in my last videos of the video of the responsibility that the masculine has taken on to take for the feminine, and how much responsibility and burden and weight that is to have to take care of that, the feminine. And so this person responded to say, you know, they wanted to do that. They felt that was something they wanted to do as a masculine, and not to have that sort of taken away from them, I guess, in a way. And that they want their feminine to relax into that and be able to receive, and that they want to be able to provide for them, basically. And I thought, that's great, But I thought also, hey, I feel like I thought about the balance in that. Like, how can we find the balance where we can receive from the masculine, and the masculine can also not feel that the feminine counterpart can also contribute to the providing and come into more of an equality around those energies, so that there's a real beautiful flow of giving and receiving. So that neither should feel the heavy weight, that it's kind of each of us take the equal responsibility of the relationship and what we have to do to kind of live on this planet Earth, to survive, and to just, to each take a bit of the load on each of those polarities. So just a little bit around that and what that would look like. And I don't really know, because as I say, I'm a single mum, and I take on probably more of the doing, and the not so much of the receiving, other people doing for me. I do a lot. So I'm quite keen on exploring what this feels like. So maybe he was suggesting that he was on that polarity, I'm on the other polarity, which is I don't really need a man to provide for me or protect me, and I don't need that. So interesting thinking, right? So these are just some of the examples. Where am I at with my twin flame? We're communicating just by WhatsApp. We send each other messages back and forth. Just sometimes little things throughout the day or whatever. At least probably once a week we're communicating at the moment. So that's nice, just to have that connection with him. Always beautiful. I've never, and I don't hope not to ever, have gone through a time when I've not ever spoken with my twin flame, or we've been angry with each other about something, or had a fight about something, not misunderstood each other or anything like that. We always stay very connected. Yeah, so that's important and nice. And I don't probably have not much more to say at this point. I just want to link a lot of information which I talked about, which was the spiritual police and love. And so the spiritual police's role is not to be like making sure people aren't being in the ego or something like that, which I think that does kind of go on, that energy. And I don't even want to go into it because it feels kind of weird to be in it. But when we recognize that spirituality is or there's an energy out there of fear somewhere in the atmosphere, that our role is to come in and bring in love. So we're not the sort of the police that sort of come in with our batons and our uniforms and kind of act real strict and get people to kind of behave themselves and pay their taxes and all that. Our weapons, our control tactics, have you will, if these are the words that we use kind of in that third dimension where we feel like we need to control things, our control is and our defense and our punishment or anything like that is love. So and there's an area where I've heard people also getting a little bit confused, and I think we're still kind of learning around this area, and that is when around, we're learning about unity and separation and seeing people as different from us, and talking about protecting ourselves and removing ourselves from certain energies that may be damaging to us, and how people that are kind of spiritual often have trouble in some ways doing that, and just feel like that we need to love everybody and not to separate people and accept them and love them just the way they are. And I think, yes, there's definitely going to be a time and a place for that, but because we are still human and we are ascending and growing and learning, there's part of a step that we can't jump to unless we've done, and that is self-love always is going to come first for a certain part of the journey and towards unity. And I think that is the key for a lot of spiritual people right now, that first comes self-love. So that's why we are going through another stage where we're learning about boundaries, and part of the learning about boundaries is how can I honor myself in this situation? What do I need to do to honor myself, love myself at the moment? Yes, above that other person, because many of us there's kind of did get the energy of trickery before. That's why I'm sort of seeing that's where the spiritual police can come in, I guess, where there's some tricky energy going on with the ego trying to sort of become spiritual, but sort of crossing over on itself. And there's a bit of a crossover and an overlay when we're ascending into the higher thinking, but the ego kind of comes in to try and level up, and sort of, because it likes to know that it's got control of what's happening, and it's kind of wanting to assign everything or any kind of progress to itself, that, you know, and then sort of become a little bit big-headed about it. And so where am I going with this? I think, again, it's just, it doesn't matter even if that's there. Like, we don't judge that. We still love that part of ourselves that's needing that kind of approval, I guess, or to sort of prove yourself to others, or to be accepted. That's really, again, what all we're looking for. So we need to come back to that and love and accept ourselves, and really kind of continue. That's always what I'll come back to in these videos: radical self-love, radical self-acceptance. When we're jumping into the other person and wondering what they're thinking and doing, we come back into ourselves, and we really just be with ourselves and really get better at that, you know. So again, that's kind of part of the work of the spiritual light workers. We might want to use a different word than police, because I don't actually even know where that word comes from. It's an English word that's probably got its origin in Latin. I'm sure somebody will tell me what that means. So yeah, interesting. Policy, you know, so rules, I'm feeling that regulation and rules thing. Government, you know, here I am going off on another kind of tangent, but it's how that shows up in my world. So those of you that are my regular listeners would have heard me talk about wanting to buy a house recently that came up for sale, and beautiful, cool, little funky little cottage, tiny house kind of thing with these cool gardens and fountains, and really funky little place that I've had my heart really set on, and energetically just felt so right, and kind of still does. However, there's not the right consent and things according to our council law, and so that means that the banks basically won't lend on something that hasn't been approved and has its compliance certificates and all of these things. And so that means I can't get the loan on it, and also insurance companies also don't insure. And so all these kind of rules and regulations, and feeling as if that's sort of holding me back a little bit. And so I guess, you know, that maybe it's Mercury retrograde, who knows, the planets and learning and whatever. So feeling that quite third dimensional, those kind of heavy burdens and chains and bureaucracy that kind of gets put on things in the third dimension. And sort of feeling energetically to really move past that, come into gratitude about what I even have right now, no matter what. Even where I am right now is amazing, and feeling really happy about, you know, not needing to get also attached to that whole idea and hung up that needs to happen. For me, maybe something better is on its way, or maybe just things are just getting worked out for that property, and maybe I'll get it for a cheaper price, because really it's only worth the land value, because the house is kind of, yeah. So that would be interesting, wouldn't it? So I'm not going to give up on that just yet. Anyway, I am going to leave it there, though. I don't want to ramble on too much. I'd really love to send a lot of beautiful heart energy and love out to all of you out there that are listening to this right now, and just let that energy come into your heart and feel it, and let it come through your body, and just let yourself relax and receive, feel into some lovely, soft, gentle, spiritual light energy coming through from source, from divine love, from the universe, and allow that to just settle in and really pulse through you today as you go about your business, wherever you find yourself from here. Yeah. Okay, sending you out lots of love, and if anyone would like to connect with me individually, I've got some free spaces coming up for sessions. Please get in touch if you would like to do some healing work with me, and yeah, love to hear from you. Please click the link down below to come onto my website where you can book sessions. Okay, sending you lots of love. Bye for now.